Sometimes the greatest witchcraft, brujeria, or negative vibrations that people face are usually from family members. And if you're married, from your in laws. In Puerto Rico, we say that the first person to give you el mal de ojo, the evil eye, is one's own mother, nuestra madres. The first person to give us, the evil eye. So it's the holiday season, and families come and gather around, and with them they bring all their craziness, all their mambo jumbo into your home, into your life. You know what I'm saying? So a client came to me, and this is what this trabajo espiritual is for a client whose family is coming from another country. His wife's family is coming from another country, and sadly to say, they just don't get along with this gentleman. So he contracted me to do this trabajo just for a little bit of peace, and so that he can survive this holiday season with these individuals, this family that's coming from his country. Sometimes, no matter how much you try, you're never good enough for your in-laws. You're never good enough for just the way it is. And sometimes you get in-laws that deal with black magic. It is what it is, especially in the Latino community, the Brazilian community, all around South Americans. You get those telenovela, in-laws that will do everything in their power to separate you from your wife, because you're just not good enough for their child. So this is a trabajo for my client because his in-laws are coming. They have thrown a lot of brujeria on this individual, but this individual doesn't want to hurt them, because no matter, at the end of the day, they are his wife's parents. He just wants to make sure that he's protected and that he removes any negative vibration that these individuals do bring with them during their time with them during this holiday season. So the first thing I had, and I'm going to have it covered, is I asked him to bring me a picture of the two in-laws, and then I had him cross the names over. I'm just covering that because that's very private. I had him do that because I needed the pictures, to do this hechizo. This hechizo is known in Latin American countries as el hechizo de la cebolla, the onion spell, and it is used usually to send back any negative vibration, any suffering that you want, that they wish on you. It's not accepted, and you just send it right back to that individual. First thing I'm going to use is purple candles. A lot of people ask me, well, why didn't I get purple candles at a botanica? Well, I need the candles with the lid. And you can use any candles. Purple is a good color for removing tension, to drive away evil, to change bad luck into good luck, removing obstacles, to remove depression. And I chose mulberry candles. Mulberry is a good herb or a good tree for protection and strength. It's especially during these times. Each person does their hechizo de la cebolla very differently. There's no two brujos that do it the same. Each country does it a little bit different. Onions is ruled by Mars, and onions are used for protection, removing negative energies, dispelling evil intentions, and it's also ruled by Mars. Garlic is also ruled by Mars, and I'm not going to use the garlic. I'm going to use the garlic skin, and I'm also going to use the onion skins. We don't throw anything away. We save all that, but I'm going to use the garlic skin because garlic skins, just like onions, are ruled by Mars. They're for protection, to dispel, to repel evil, and to give you strength. In the olden days, I remember, the mothers, the Latina mothers, they could be cooking arroz con pollo. They could be making arroz con pollo and then go into the refrigerator, and there was their botica, their botanica, everything that they needed for a spell was in the kitchen or was either in the backyard in her herb garden. They didn't have to go to botanicas. So they used what they had, as onions make us cry. When you cut an onion and you're crying, what I'm saying? This is why it is that we use the onion. I'm going to use black candles. I was going to use mechas. Mechas of these, but I'm not sure yet. This is mechas, candle wicks. And I'm going to use some powders that I've made. Okay. Here's an oil that I made previously for this trabajo, and some powders that I'm also going to use for this trabajo to remove this negative vibration. I'm going to carve the names of the people into the candle, and then I'm going to anoint it with the oil, and I'm going to save the lids. I need these lids for this trabajo espiritual, for this hechizo. Now, there are many forms of magic. You know, we all know that there are many forms of magic. There's contagious, sympathetic, which is also known as imitative, and homeopathic. So right now I've dressed the candles, added some oil, and I'm starting the trabajo. I carved the names of the people here, and I have it covered over the candle. Each person does this trabajo differently, but this is the way that I do it. Now, this is besides the point of the trabajo that I'm doing right now, but since I've already mentioned the word magic, I personally don't like to use the word magic. Every time I hear the word magic, it reminds me of those side show magicians, you know, the ones that saw people, you know, in two and are on stage, and magicians, you know, with a little black wand and the rabbits coming out of the hat. But since I've already used the word magic, I personally like to use the word brujeria, hechizos, trabajos, and I don't really use the word magic as it really reminds me of Harry Potter. But there are different forms of magic, you know, and it could be broken down into three. There's homeopathic, sympathetic, which is also known as imitative, and contagious. And in those three categories, there are subcategories that can fall into one of those three. Now, since I already mentioned it, I said, well, let me just talk about it and address it into the video since I already put it out there. These candles, I'm actually impressed. It was the first time that I ever bought these small candles, but they have been lit for 24 hours. It's almost midnight. I lit them last night, and we're going on 24 hours, and looks like they have maybe like an hour left to them. So yeah, I'm impressed. Now I'm going to, you know, this is day one of the trabajo, and now I'm going to go on the second part of the trabajo for the client. So I'm surprised at these candles. I've never bought them, but they've lasted 24 hours. It's pretty good. Now, both my candles have gone out. Actually, they lasted 24 hours, and you can see that it's still got that the mulberry wax. So what I'm going to do to get rid of it, I mean, you can wash it off, but I'm going to carefully soak them in this hot boiling water, melt that wax so that I can use the clean glasses in this trabajo. Actually, I wonder if they'll float. Actually, they will float. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them float there for a little while and melt that wax completely. In less than 30 seconds, the wax completely melted, and this will be easier to clean off than just, you know, just like, see that? I mean, literally, just simply, instead of scrubbing them down. How easy that was and how clean they came out. They're still hot, so yeah, they're actually pretty hot, but look at how easy that was to clean, just to put them in hot water instead of scrubbing down all that wax and you get it all over your hands and your Brillo pads and whatever. Look how quick that was, nice and clean. So after you wash and clean your jars tus jarros. We're going to start off with the next step of the trabajo espiritual, or the trabajo. I took the piece of paper with my client's in-laws, picture, and I cut them. I just cut the heads off because I need this to fit one into each jar. And I have the name with the clients that he crossed over, and so I'm going to cut this because I want to break that bond that they have, because they're going to bring problems. The next thing that we're going to also use is cebolla, onions. And I want to make sure that my cebollas, my onions, fit into my jarrito. And you can see they do, okay? And so how I'm going to cut them is I'm going to cut them this way. See what I'm saying? I'm going to cut them this way. The top and the bottom. La cola y la cabeza. I'm going to use ajo. Okay, and I'm also going to use candles, velitas negras. I'm going to write their names from la cola to the top of the candle, going up and then down, up and down. Okay, I'm going to anoint these with oils and preparar this trabajo. He does not want to harm these people. What he wants to do is to protect himself during the holiday season, because these people, they do bring problems when they come, over. They don't want their daughter with the husband, and they've been married 20 years. So he just wants a little protection. He doesn't want to harm them. So this is what this trabajo is for. So I'm going to start with my next process of el hechizo, as what we say in Spanish, el hechizo de la cebolla. Okay, now that I cut my cebollas, my onions, you can see how I did it. Okay, I'm going to cut el corazón out, the heart of the onion, which is right in the center of the onion. In Spanish, we call this el corazón de la cebolla, the heart of the onion. And how I'm going to do that is carefully. I'm going to remove the heart con mi daga, my ritual daga that I use for carving or writing, or, just doing magical things. So what I'm going to do is I'm carefully going to find the center of it, and then I'm just going to go around and remove el corazón de la cebolla. Okay, so I'm going to go around and around and around until I get that heart completely out. See that? And I want to remove completely. I'm going to go all the way down and completely remove el corazón, trying my best not to hurt la cebolla, the onion. It's interesting to note that traditionally this trabajo was done, it's usually done in Latin American countries for when a boyfriend makes a girlfriend suffer. So they want to return that suffering back to their boyfriend without harming them. So here I am, you can see I'm trying carefully to remove that heart, just so that partner can feel the pain of what the person felt. There's the heart right there. That's what I want to remove from my cebolla. You can see el corazón right there in the center. Here are the onions after I removed el corazón, or the heart of the onion. I'm going to show you what they look like. It's kind of hard to hold, but here's the heart of the onion. You want to remove that. You want to remove the heart from the onion. It's kind of hard to hold so you can see it. This is el corazón. This is the heart, the life force of the onion. You're going to remove this from the onion. It's interesting to note that both onions, cebolla, and garlic have sulfur, okay? And this is a key ingredient in this trabajo. Sulfur is good for removing negative vibration, sending bad vibrations back to somebody else, removing hexes, for protection, for banishing, for removing. So yes, both onions and garlic, cebolla y ajo, contain sulfur, which if you don't want to use sulfur in your magic, then understand, or your trabajos espirituales, understand that both onions and garlic contain azufre, sulfur. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take where he crossed the names and I cut it in half. I'm going to burn each half into each of the jars. Okay, so here I have one of the jars and I'm going to take half of it. I'm going to make this relationship into ashes just as bad as they want to make his wife and his relationship into ashes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to burn that into the jar, and I want to collect all the ashes, you see that, into the jar, and I want to make sure that I save all those ashes. And I'm going to burn myself. All right, so here's one. Okay, I almost burnt myself. Here's one. You always got to be careful when you're playing with fire. I'm sure some of the trolls would like to see me get burnt, wouldn't they? And I'm gonna burn the next one carefully. Actually, I'm gonna fold this one. I folded it, now I'm gonna burn it because I didn't want to collect these ashes. Okay. And as I'm doing that, I'm conjurando en mi mente, conjuring in my mind, I guess you want to say it, because I want to collect all that ashes into this jar. Okay. Make sure that you do not lose, and please, when you're playing with fire or you're working with fire, have respect for that energy. Always have respect for that energy. You see what I'm saying? And I'm going to burn all that ashes into my jar. Now that the ashes are in the jars, I'm going to take the pictures of each of the person that I cut up into the paper, and I want to make sure that I can see that picture. I'm not going to show you, the picture of the person, but I'm going to place the picture inside the jar. Okay. Then I'm going to take some ajo or garlic, and all I want is some of the skin. See that? And I'm going to place one into each of my jars, just like that. Now each person, they use their own different ingredients for their trabajos. So I'm just going to use a little bit of each one into each of the jars. I'm going to place a little bit of that into one jar. And into the other jar. Some of the powders that I have made. Okay, so just a little bit. Take a little bit into one of the jars. And into the next jar. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to place la cebolla, or the onion, into the jar, just like that. Okay, so I'm doing two into the jar. I've already carved the candles that I'm going to use for this trabajo. Two black candles, because there's two individuals. So I've already carved the person's names on the candle, and I'm going to insert it into the hole of the onion. You want to make sure that when you look down into the onion, you can see the face of the individual. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert the candle into each of my cebollas, just like that. I'm going to take a picture so you can see what it looks like. Finally, I'm going to take some of this oil that I have made. Every person uses their own oil. You can use vegetable oil, pure virgin olive oil, or you can make your own spiritual oils. I like to make my own spiritual oils. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the jars up to the top with oil. Okay, and I'm going to do that with both of my trabajitos, just like that. And I'm going to fill them up with oil completely, just until you cover la cebolla, until you cover the onion. both of my candles, mi hechizo de cebolla. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a wooden match and I'm going to light each one of these wicks to start off el hechizo, el trabajo for this client. Por el gran poder de Dios, tú, cebolla, que tienes la propiedad de hacer llorar hasta el más fuerte, haz que fulano de tal, fulano de tal, fulano de tal, llore y llore sin parar por el daño que me ha hecho. No lo dejes ni en silla sentarse, ni en mesa comer, ni en cama dormir, y que no pare de sufrir hasta que venga a mí arrepentido por el daño que me ha hecho, y que venga manso como un cordero pidiéndome perdón. Por el gran poder de Dios, tú, cebolla, que tienes la propiedad de hacer llorar hasta el más fuerte, haz que fulano de tal, fulano de tal, fulano de tal, llore y llore sin parar por el daño que me ha hecho. No la dejes ni en silla sentarse, ni en mesa comer, ni en cama dormir, y que no pare de sufrir hasta que venga a mí arrepentido por el daño que me ha hecho, y que venga manso como un cordero pidiéndome perdón. Por el gran poder de Dios, tú, cebolla, que tienes la propiedad de hacer llorar hasta el más fuerte, haz que fulano de tal, fulano de tal, fulano de tal, llore y llore sin parar por el daño que me ha hecho. No los dejes ni en silla sentarse, ni en mesa comer, ni en cama dormir, y que no paren de sufrir hasta que vengan a mí arrepentido por el daño que me han hecho, y que vengan mansos como un cordero pidiéndome perdón. Con el permiso del gran poder de Dios y la protección de mi ángel de la guarda, así lo deseo y así será. As it is above, so it is below. And now that I prayed or have made a prayer to God for protection for the client, I always pray to spirit guides, to muertos, to seres of this person's cuadro espiritual or my cuadro espiritual, to also protect the individual. Onions have the power to absorb. It is often believed that if you cut an onion, onions absorb bacteria. And just like people have that belief, we also believe in the spiritual community, in the spiritual world, that onions also have the power to absorb negative vibrations, negative magic into themselves. They absorb it. So this is why I'm using el hechizo de la cebolla for my client. It's early in the morning, and I've been attending to these velones, to the hechizo de la cebolla all night, and they're almost done. I'm just waiting for them to go out. I never leave, if there's one went out, I never leave trabajos unattended, especially when it has to do with, candles or anything. I just gotta make sure, to keep safety. I'm just waiting for that last one. It's on his last leg. Then I'm gonna call it a night for this part of the trabajo espiritual. Okay, so it finally turned off. All right, just gonna cover them up and get my ass to bed. The last part of my trabajo for the cebolla, hechizo de la cebolla, is I'm going to place it in this frozen canal. A lot of people use freezers actually, to freeze up. There's no fluid, there's no energy moving here. The water is stuck. So this will freeze up any negative vibrations that the clients may have. So I'm looking for a place right there. This is not to harm the individual, but to freeze up any trabajo that the client may have on the client. And as this will freeze, as the water freezes this over, this will freeze with it. As more snow falls in, this will freeze the trabajo. We're expecting a snowstorm, so this will cover it completely and freeze it completely over. This is the last part of the trabajo for my client. This is Sancista Brujo Luis. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, please leave a comment, please subscribe, and please share on your favorite social media. Sancista Brujo Luis, Santo Sanse.
Padre nuestro que estás en los cielos, santificado sea tu nombre.